I do have a problem with Islam. I do. I think it's totally incompatible with Western values, and I don't think people who practice Islam should be the leaders of America. I just don't. That's how I feel, and I'm entitled to that belief. Because Islam is more than a religion. It is a political ideology. I mean, Islam, people sometimes couch it as political Islam. All of Islam is political Islam. That's the truth. And we can't be afraid to say it. Like, I'm sorry, but it's just not consistent with Western values. It's not. They're not pro-free speech. They're not pro-women. And they're not pro-separation of church and state, like we in America are. We view the interference of religion in governance much, much differently than your average Muslim does, even your non-radicalized Muslim. That's what's true. That's why Christopher Hitchens spoke the way he did. Here's his reminder. This is from 2009, SOP 33.
This is very urgent business, ladies and gentlemen. I beseech you. Resist it while you still can, and before the right to complain is taken away from you, which will be the next thing. You will be told you can't complain because you're Islamophobic. The term is already being introduced into the culture as if it was an accusation of race hatred, for example, or bigotry, whereas it's only the objection to the preachings of a very extreme and absolutist religion. Watch out for these symptoms. They are just symptoms of surrender, very often ecumenically offered to you by men of God in other robes, Christian and Jewish and smarmy ecumenical. These are the ones who will hold open the gates for the barbarians. The barbarians never take a city till someone holds the gates open for them. And it's your own preachers who will do it for you, and your own multicultural authorities who will do it for you. Resist it while you can.
Truer words. And by the way, those are the same groups holding the door open for Mamdani in New York. It is these sort of smarmy white liberals who feel bad about their skin color and the colonialist past and feel like they're going to work out whatever white guilt they have by backing this radical guy, Mamdani, who originally, before he became the frontrunner, said in every corner his main reason for running was the plight of the Palestinians. That's why he wanted to attain power, and so that he could push the anti-Israel, pro-Palestinian narrative in whatever corner he could. And by the way, all these white liberals, hearing that, including many New York Jews, are applauding him. They feel the same. There's a hefty amount of anti-Semitism in his rise and those numbers of his that you and I just discussed. And Christopher Hitchens was 100% right that we should not be afraid to say we are against Islam. Sorry if that's your thing. You can practice it. No one's going to say you can't. This is America. But we don't have to like it, and we don't have to celebrate the elevation of leaders who believe in its tenets.
Yeah, I would say a couple things. One, he's obviously right about how Islamophobia, this manufactured thing that the Muslim Brotherhood had a big role in promoting, was going to be used as a shield just to protect from any criticisms of Muslim organizations or political candidates, or radical Islam itself. But I would say if when it comes to the United States, we would not be the country that we are today if we hadn't been overwhelmingly Protestant and of British stock at the time. There are a bunch of cultural attitudes and ideas that came with that. But I do think that the project created an open society. I think you can easily be a faithful Muslim who's a patriotic American who believes in our ideals and our institutions, but we wouldn't, if we were a Muslim country in 1776, the revolution never would have happened, right? We never would have been a liberal society. And you can look all around the world and there was no Islamic equivalent of the United States, and they're still struggling with adopting Western values today. So I don't think it's a condemnation of any individual Muslim. I do think, I agree with you that their cultural attitudes and values embedded in religions that work their way out and how societies govern themselves.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's like I've been covering this too long. You know, you hear about like these alleged honor killings of young girls. You know exactly what kind of family you're talking about. You know immediately what the religion is and why this was done to her. No one for 1 second thinks it was a Christian or a Jew or a Hindu. You know exactly. I mean, the treatment of women alone is a deal breaker. And so much worse when you're talking about illegal immigrants or, you know, people allegedly seeking asylum like this alleged stabber in the UK was. This family takes him in. They show him a kindness. The Palestinian family, Pakistani family takes him in, shows him a kindness, gives them a place to live, and this is the thanks they get. There was a story in the news the other day about 2 white gay men in the UK. Exact same thing happened to them. Exact same profile all around. Like, how many times are we going to lay our own heads on the guillotine before we realize how this ends? And what they need in the UK is a Trump and a Tom Homan. That's really their only hope, Rich.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And again, their Trump, who presumably will hire his Tom Homan, is leading in the polls, again, years before they get an election. So we'll see what happens with Nigel Farage. There's a fascinating book I read about a year ago called The Weirdest People in the World. And it's about the distinctiveness of Western culture and its values by a social scientist who it occurred to him that all the psychological studies and exams that were being applied to people to figure out what human nature was at its root were all being given to Western college students because they're the easiest subjects, right? They're in a classroom or they're taking your seminar if you're a psychologist. So you give them the test or whatever it is. And what he realized and others realized is college students aren't even the norm necessarily in our own societies, but they're certainly not the norm all around the world. And he found that the dividing line in terms of kind of Western values was the maximum extent of the Carolingian Empire, 1,000 years ago or so. So in the West, you tend to think, if I have access to government money, responsibility for managing a government contract, it would be wrong to give it to my relatives outright. Oftentimes that's honored in the breach, but that's what our values say. But you go to certain other societies and you have access to the money, it'd be wrong not to give it to your relatives, right? That would be betrayal of your blood kin. So it's a terrible error to think that just you scratch the surface and everyone around the world is just one of us. They're not. They're different. They have their own values. They have their own cultural predilections. This is one reason the Iraq War went wrong, is a lot of people assumed you knock off Saddam Hussein and you eliminate the dictator, and then, wow, everyone just wants democracy. They want all the same things that we do. Now, a lot of them do.
How many times are we going to learn that lesson?
But not all.
The Iraq War, the free and fair elections in Palestine that led to Hamas getting elected, the Arab Spring. We've learned this lesson a lot. Take China. Let's open up trade with China. We'll democratize them. They'll see how great we have it, and they want to be more like us and share our values. Now, their military's grown exponentially. Their economy has too. And they've got a plan to take over the world, quietly making this plan all along while trying to make nice with the United States, leading us to believe, oh, sure, we love your democratization plan. We've been fools. We've been utter fools. And thank God we have Trump in there, at least in the United States, and Homan and Kristi Noem, who are somewhat like-minded, though there was a report this week about some friction between Homan and Noem. I don't know if it's true. But overall, somewhat like-minded on what needs to be done here. But, we are one election away from losing that team ourselves. And the Brits, I'm encouraged that Nigel's leading, but I don't trust the Brits to do the right thing anymore. I really don't. I think they've been ruled by the effete white liberal crew, like I had on the Upper West Side for all those years, for too long. It's what's in control. Buy gold and get free silver. That's right. For every $5,000 purchased from Birch Gold Group this month in advance of Veterans Day, they will send you a free patriotic silver round that commemorates the Gadsden and American flags. Look, gold is up over 40% since the beginning of this year, and Birch Gold can help you own it by converting an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. Plus, they'll send you free silver honoring our veterans on qualifying purchases. And if you are current or former military, Birch Gold has a special offer just for you. They are waiving custodial fees for the first year on investments of any amount. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, consider diversifying your savings into gold. Text MK to the number 989898 for a free info kit and to claim your eligibility for free silver with qualifying purchase before the end of the month. Again, text MK to the number 989898. Message and data rates may apply. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.